Hello guys, it's Chummaster. Today we're doing another Bottleman video. This time I'm actually starting a new Bottleman series. Sort of a type of video where I rank every Bottleman type. Of course, power types, speed types, control types, and eventually multi-types. I'll be spreading these out every couple of weeks, but we're starting with power types. One thing to note about this series is I'm not actually ranking them based on how good the Bottleman necessarily is, or purely just on how strong they are in the case of power types. What I'm doing instead is I'm ranking them based on how well they fit into said type. So while a Bottleman may shoot, strongly, is there anything else to that that kind of helps it to shoot, strong? Is there anything else to it at all? I feel like it's a bit of an interesting approach, so it's not just measuring power or just saying how good they are. If you do want to know more about that, though, I have done ranking videos on both the prototype and DX lines, where I rank them, well, every Bottleman in the line based on how good it is, and also for Godcap stuff, I do have unboxings that go pretty in depth with everything if you want to know my thoughts on those. So with all that out of the way, let's go ahead and just start ranking these Bottleman based on how well I think they fit into the power type, well, archetype. And with that, we have number 11, Kerpeps. I personally don't think Kerpeps is all that great of a power type. So it's like decently strong. I mean, it's like hold parts that are power type hold parts, but outside of that, its whole gimmick is being able to tilt, and then you kind of, lock that in. Now it's like permanently just tilted down. I mean, like there's two different modes. There's, like the normal 0 degree mode, and there's like two different tilted modes, 5 degree and 10 degree, but just tilting downwards, it kind of like can slide across the ground or like ricochet or whatever, but neither one's really all that helpful. Like, I'm gonna be honest, there isn't a whole lot of merit to this normally, nor for power. I haven't really done much with this thing in that regard. Like, it just doesn't really feel all that good. And yeah, this isn't really much of a power gimmick in my opinion. It's a gimmick, but it's not. It doesn't really fit into the power type category, which is why I'm putting it in last place, because it doesn't have anything else outside of that. However, we then of course get to number 10, Fusion Black. I really, really wanted to put this thing at last place, but again, not ranking these based on how good they are, so I decided to put this at number 10. First and foremost, the hold parts have wheels. While they're kind of more stiff, and they're clearly not the same as, well, maybe not clearly, but they don't feel the same as speed hold parts, in my opinion. But, I mean, they look similar enough, they might be. It's hard to tell, honestly. I've always felt these were a bit more stiff, but, this is, of course, meant to be used with Blend Dragon in the combination, but as its own Bottleman, that clearly does not help with the power gimmicks. It does have a metal cap, though, and I guess a long trigger, but this trigger's not good. But again, I'm not recommending how good they are, so it's a long trigger, metal cap. You have this big support grip thing, the metal on the bottom here for stability, I guess. But again, I don't know, if it's like some of these gimmicks are more control gimmicks than anything else. You have like these, which are like speed hold parts almost, and then I mean, you have some power stuff here, but this thing just feels like an absolute mess, but there's at least some level of power gimmick. I mean, a metal cap definitely sounds like a power gimmick to me, so there's that. I mean, this isn't a great power type. I mean, it's not good, but, like, at all, but as a power type, it's, like, I guess okay. Somewhat, but also not really. But again, it just has some stuff, so I could at least put it above Kerpeps. This thing is just an absolute mess, though. I kind of make its own discussion on this thing, just to talk about Fusion Black and why it's weird, but we'll do that a different day. Coming at number 9, this is probably going to be one that is a little bit upsetting for some, but Wonder Grape. I like Wonder Grape a lot. It's a really cool Bottleman, but as a power type, I mean, yeah, it does shoot like pretty well, but the whole gimmick of it shooting vertically, with something like Deca v Tiger G, it kind of proved that that doesn't have to be only a power type thing, and really never was. I mean, shooting vertically doesn't have to be a power gimmick, so this guy's shooting vertically, and that's kind of all it does. It doesn't really feel like it had to be a power type, but at the same time, I'll give it some credit. I mean, it was still like a new generation. I mean, and I definitely get why a vertical shooter would be more associated with the power type. just without hits targets, at least in my opinion, and also kind of some issues with control, although they did solve that with Deck of Tiger, but again, I'll give this thing some credit though. I do think it does function well enough as a power type to where I'm okay putting it above those other two, which, you know, one just doesn't have any power type gimmicks really. The other one's just a mess, but yeah, this one's like fair enough, I guess. I'll give it some credit. Similarly though, number 8 is Raid Brave DX. This one, you do have a little bit more going on. There's like the rubber part in there on the bottom. Probably can't really see that. But hey, rubber, that's a little bit more of a power type thing. I'll give it again. Gets more credit for that, but nothing else really at all. Again, it's a vertical shooter, but again, now there's rubber, so it technically shoots with a bit more force, in theory. I mean, that's like, again, it deserves to be a spot higher than Wonder Grape, but that's all it's getting. I'm not going to reiterate much here, because I've already gone in depth with Wonder Grape. So with that, number 7 is Kerpeps DX. Kerpeps DX is a fun one. This thing, its main gimmick is that it has a 2-cap capacity. Within the core itself, it shoots 2 caps at once, and you have the long trigger to accommodate that. And yeah. So this is a weird one. So when you look at something like Drazaros, I believe that was a special type in Crossfight Beatamon. So something like that, you know, again, it was a special type, and I kind of understand that. It definitely feels more like a special gimmick rather than just a power gimmick. But at the same time, before assigning it one of the 3 main types, it's definitely a power gimmick, because again, 2 caps at once, obviously, that's just kind of a... I mean, yeah, it's stronger, I guess. You have, again, 2 caps, it's more force, I guess. It does something, I mean, there you go. It fits into a power type, is what I'm trying to get at here. But it's not like that much of a power gimmick. Like, you can almost argue a speed type could be here. Or like it could be a speed type rather. Like, again, 2 caps in the core. Maybe with certain gimmicks, maybe a little bit of a different design. This could be a speed gimmick, although it'd be an awkward one for sure. And I mean, shooting 2 caps at once wouldn't be overly effective for that. But I mean, you could still argue different ways with this thing, but I definitely get this thing being a power type. It's just, again, a little bit awkward. So I think this is where we're getting to the point where we are actually getting more into the powered, like, proper power types. But yeah, this one is still a little bit weird overall. Number 6 is Draggart G. Draggart, well, normally this thing doesn't really do a whole lot if you don't have the big cap launcher inside. It's just a very, very bland Bottleman, but of course, without that, though, there is the cap, and the cap, on its own, actually, even in the normal mode, has its own little gimmick here with the cap weight, which immediately, I mean, adds a little bit more resistance into the cap, also, like, doubles the weight of the cap, so this is already a pretty power gimmick-heavy cap, I would say. But with this here, yeah, this on, and now it's a big cap. This is obviously a power cap, like, come on. I still don't think it's, like... I guess I could still put this in like a special category where it's not, like, it doesn't have to just be considered a power type, but it's more of a power gimmick than the double shot, at least in my opinion. So I decided to put it a spot above Kerpeps DX, but again, it still does kind of fit almost like into that special group. Well, like even with like the vertical shooters, like you could almost argue with that being a like special gimmick, but I guess in Bottleman we don't have special types, we have multi-types, but it's kind of like special types anyway, so you could argue different things for the vertical shooters, Kerpeps DX, Draggart G, I do feel like, but them also being power types makes sense. I just think this is the most power type-esque, what am I saying anymore? Yes, it's a power-like gimmick, there you go. I went completely off the rails there. Anyway, with those out of the way, we now have the top 5. All 5 of these are just clearly power types. There's no debate about it, but how do I want to rank them? So we'll start with number 5 with Tenseitan DX. Tenseitan DX is, well, something. It doesn't have any crazy gimmicks with the hold parts. I guess like with some, I mean this goes for any power type with the hold parts having the, you know, these outer pieces here. You press inward if you want for a stronger shot. But with these, you have wheels on the bottom of the feet here. And also these much larger wheels on the arms, so, and with that you're meant to basically be able to get a boost shot. moving forward while shooting is meant to give you a stronger shot. That is definitely a power gimmick. I don't think it's as good as the other four above it, which is why, I mean, obviously why I put it at 5th, but yeah, I do feel like it's still enough to where I want to put it above everything else, though. Alright, number 4 is Kolomaru. This is like the most basic thing possible. Has a drive strip, okay. There's some rubber in there to... Well, I guess it gives it more of a spin shot, but it still does increase the power. But also you have these wings, which you could hold on to, and also the arms you could push in on to basically increase the tension to give a stronger shot. There you go. Again, that is like the most basic power gimmick imaginable. Both of these things, you know, the rubber to increase power and then also increasing tension. That's very, very basic, but hey, it does definitely function as a power type. And speaking of, number 3 is Kolomaru DX. This is like the same exact thing. Got the drive strip there and the arms. Although I do feel like the wings are a bit easier to hold on to, and also like these hands. I do actually feel like I have an easier time pressing in on the hands on DX rather than the original by a little bit. So I decided to give this thing number 3 and the original number 4. But again, it's just a very, very basic power type. But hey, in these ranking videos, these kind of more basic ones actually get a chance to rank a bit higher, which is kind of cool. But there are still 2 Bottlemen that are going to be higher than these 2. And, well, number 2 is Ten Satan. The power buckle sort of spreads out the wings here, which then in turn makes these parts have tension on them at all times. And basically forcing tension onto the hold parts, which you could then also hold on to and even put like more tension onto. I think that just sort of one-ups Kolomaru a little bit anyway. I think I definitely could have put this thing at 4th because there is no drive strip and they're just normal plastic power hold parts. But I also kind of just felt like at the same time, you know, I'm fine putting this thing a little bit higher because again, this thing just has some, you know, extra like base tension because of this power buckle, which you then again add on to further if you really want to. So yeah, again, as a power type, I do think this thing is pretty basic overall, but of the more basic ones, it's like the best, well, most power-like power type. I swear, my word choices in this video are really stupid, but you know what? It's fine. And then we get to number 1, which is Kolomaru Energy DX. This is not a surprise. I think it's pretty obvious that for a power type, whether or not, I feel like if you want to rank them based on how good they are, or just base them on, again, how well do they fit into the power type category, I think regardless, this guy is your number 1 choice. You actually do have a lot of control gimmicks with this thing as well, like, again, rubber parts can be added onto here from Kolomaru DX's arms, which, you know, adds more stability to the feet. You have very large wings here for a nice grip. These parts touch the ground for some extra stability. The horn can be kind of used as a little bit of a sight. You can add on the Kolomaru DX wings onto the edge of these wings to give a larger grip. So yes, this thing actually has a lot of control gimmicks, which is very weird. However, that doesn't detract from all the power stuff it has, and that does still help just being a Bottleman. I mean, that's more just about ergonomics a lot, well, the wings and stuff anyway, but extra stability is not bad either. So, for power, you have a drive strip, and you also have these parts, which, of course, just add tension on to the hold parts. Sort of mimicking Ten Satan's gimmick a little bit, in the sense of, you know, having extra tension on the hold parts at all times that you could then further increase by holding on to it. So kind of a similar idea, although this one does it better and also has a drive strip, so it kind of just one-ups Ten Satan while also having a bunch of extra control-like gimmicks. This is the best power type, and I don't think that's much of a surprise, so yeah. Funnily enough, I actually think this thing, I'm not gonna rank it on the control type list when I get to it, but I actually think this thing could potentially rank decently on that list if I were to include it, but just a funny thing there. So anyway, there you go. This is, in my opinion, the best power type within the actual archetype of them. Let me know how this was. I do plan on actually redoing this video eventually, once Bottleman is like fully done, whenever that is. Because right now, obviously, we're still going through Bottleman, but I didn't want to wait till it's over, because, again, who knows how long that's going to be. But, with this video, I decided just to make it, see how it goes. It'll give me some more time to think about some stuff. Also, if people want to kind of throw in their input on what they think makes a power type, well, a power type, then of course I could use some feedback on that just to, you know, get some more discourse out there. And again, when I eventually come back to this, I will have hopefully a better list as well. I think this one was pretty solid, although some of the the explanations were a bit whack at times. But yeah. It's definitely interesting to look at these power types, though, because a lot of them are definitely power types, but also a lot of them definitely feel like they almost could be, again, like multi-types. Again, like the vertical shooters, plus, you know, Kerpeps DX and the Drager G with their specialties. Just kind of things that are not necessarily things that have to be power gimmicks, but can be. It's a weird situation. But again, it was just a fun video I wanted to, just to do for the hell of it. Like, why not, honestly? So yeah, let me know what you think. Did I have a point here, or was I off the mark entirely? I think this is definitely a bit of a weirder video overall, and also just something that is a bit more subjective, because again, what makes a power type to someone else might be different than my definition. I mean, obviously you could just say, what shoots the strongest, which is fair enough. But I didn't want to do that, because then it's just kind of a power test, and that's not as interesting. So I decided to really look at the gimmicks, and this is what I came up with. So anyway, that's all for this video. So yeah, I'll be back in a couple weeks for a speed list. That'll be fun. So anyways, thanks for watching, and bye-bye.